I'm Danny Quinn, and welcome back to my 2020 Christmas special, where we aim to fill your stocking and your cold-hearted soul with my particular kind of festive cheer. We're now into day 2. Okay, that video was late. We're now moving on to day 2 of my Aardman calendar, and for this particular day we're going to be taking a look at a slightly more recent festive favourite, Arthur Christmas, which seeks to answer the all-important question, just how the hell does Santa Claus manage to travel all around the world delivering presents to children in one night? Well, as this movie shows, he doesn't do it all by himself. Every Christmas Eve he utilises the most advanced technology one can think of, including the ultra-high-tech craft, the S1, which is kinda like if the Starship Enterprise was crossed with Santa's sleigh. The entire operation is overseen by Santa's oldest son, the extremely business-savvy Steve, who naturally is in the running to take his father's place. But even the best technology has its imperfections, as during the latest Christmas operation, one child's present is inadvertently misplaced, and it soon falls onto Santa's younger son to deliver it himself with the assistance of Grand Santa and the old slave reindeer. Aardman Animations are of course best known for their work on the likes of Chicken Run, Wallace and Gromit, Shaun the Sheep and Creature Comforts to name just a few, all of which were made with a unique kind of stop motion known as claymation, but they have since branched out into computer animation with the likes of Flushed Away and this film. But whereas Flushed Away still maintained many of the signature Aardman character designs, Arthur Christmas largely does away with that particular style of animation, which I reckon probably upsets some of the die-hard fans, as it completely lacks the handmade quality of many of their other films, but it does more than make up for that with its own sense of charm. I pretty much fell in love with this movie right from the opening sequence, where we get an extended oversight into Santa's Christmas operations, where the name of the game is to stay completely out of sight. It's a very exciting set piece, especially in isolation, and could have very easily made for an excellent short film or mini movie in its own right, as it nicely boils down much of the essence of the film into 15 minutes. We see how covert and top secret the whole setup is. The elves are sneaking around trying to disguise themselves using high-tech lockpicks to enter people's homes, but we also see its limitations to some extent, such as in this very suspenseful scene where Santa is very nearly spotted by a young boy in his bedroom and has to escape without alerting the child to his presence. The opening to the film is so exhilarating, exciting and inventive that I was a little bit worried if the rest of the movie would live up to that excitement and that promise. But thankfully it does. It's packed with a lot of heart, humour and adventure, which definitely makes the movie ideal viewing for both kids and adults alike, especially overgrown kids such as myself. And I also gotta give the movie props for not having an outright villain, but also still maintaining a strong amount of conflict throughout the story, especially among the Clauses themselves. For example, even though the oldest brother Steve is set up as a bit of a cynical jerk, and does serve as something of an obstacle for Arthur and Grand Santa to overcome, he's never portrayed as an outright villain, just somebody who generally treats Christmas from a very business-like perspective, and he makes for a good foil to Arthur's wide-eyed idealism. In the role of Arthur, I do think James McAvoy is kinda playing a little too much to type personally, but he's as reliably solid as ever. He's well-meaning and clumsy to the point that he often screws things up and causes a lot of grief for the elves and Steve. And while his manic, overly excitable energy can be a little bit annoying for some, it really fits the character and you do feel the genuine joy the same way that he does. One of the central conflicts is about who will become the next Santa, and Steve is clearly the favourite to succeed his father, although as the movie goes on, Arthur begins to demonstrate that he may just have what it takes to become the next Santa Claus, but the message of the movie remains quite clear. No one, not even Father Christmas himself, can accomplish such a task on their own. The movie also has an excellent voice cast to complement James McAvoy. Hugh Laurie is as reliably solid as ever, Jim Broadbent and Imelda Staunton are simply inspired casting choices for Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and there's also plenty of fun supporting parts, most notably from Michael Palin as a slightly older elf who's brought in to try and help Steve bring Arthur back, as well as some terrific talent playing the roles of the elves themselves. Robbie Coltrane, Joan Cusack, Dominic West, hell, even Andy Serkis pops up as an elf. However, Ashley Jensen as Bryony is the only elf with any degree of prominence in the story, and her ability to rap does make for many an exciting set piece, although the real standout of the movie is easily Bill Nighy as the Claus's grandfather, Grand Santa. This character just straight up steals the film whenever he's on screen, and has many of its best lines. Now granted, the movie's not necessarily perfect, and one thing I've already touched on that I think will probably be a bit of a mixed bag for some viewers, especially hardcore Aardman fans, is how slightly Americanized it can feel at points. I've already talked about how this movie is completely computer animated, and lacks a lot of the unique character designs that are usually associated with Aardman, but it does also feel like it is being made with an American audience in mind, especially with them partnering up with Sony Pictures Animation, and even having the likes of Laura Linney and Eva Longoria in minor roles. This isn't necessarily a problem, it's more of an observation than anything, but it does kind of feel that Aardman has had to make a couple of concessions when working with Sony on this film. And I reckon that this movie would be a potentially good jumping on point for American audiences who might not be as familiar with Aardman's work. For me, Arthur Christmas was a hell of a festive treat. It's so funny, imaginative, exciting, and filled to the brim with heart that it's just simply irresistible. And I'm most certainly going to be lumping it into my yearly Christmas viewing from here on out. If you're looking for a festive movie to watch during the holidays with the family, this is definitely one to check out. It may be geared predominantly towards children, but older audiences will definitely get plenty of enjoyment out of it. It's simply just a deliciously delightful piece of Christmas pudding. Until next time, I'm Danny Quinn, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.